Cygnus Metals has just unveiled very high-grade drilling results, which help pave the way for a significant resource increase in the coming quarter. The results come from the Golden Eye prospect, which is a gold-dominant target within its wider Chibougamau copper-gold project in Canada. In this interview, Cygnus Executive Chairman David Southam tells the resource's rising stars why Golden Eye is looking so good, how it fits into the wider plan at Chibougamau, and the potential for the project to become part of a wider regional consolidation play.
These results are fantastic because one, the high grade, two, high grade gold and copper credits. It's a follow-up from our previous assay where we did report that we had some visible gold in two of our drill holes, and this really underpins what our strategy was. One of the strategies when we first completed this transaction. One was to grow resources from what we already had, which is a high-grade 3.5% copper gold deposit, but two, to also make discoveries in what is it's a mature area that really though hasn't had a lot of exploration, and it's generated 3.5 million ounces of gold and 1 million tons of copper in an 18-kilometre window. And this is really our first effort, and we've hit high-grade gold, shallow, 3 kilometres away from a mill, and we are the only mill for 250 kilometres. And there's a ramp with access to that ore body 150 metres away from the ore body. And the last time when that ramp was put in there, it was back in the 1990s when gold was US $350 an ounce, and they never ended up mining it because they made a copper discovery. Well, guess what? Gold is now nearly 10 times, 3,300 US an ounce with a weak Canadian and Australian dollar. So it really does show and demonstrate why we got into this area. The company that we merged with completed a PEA back in 2022, and it had roughly about 250,000 ounces of gold. We're planning on coming out with a resource in the September quarter, and we expect that, and remember this is all only draft at this point, but it's our intent to come out with a maiden resource announcement for Golden Eye. So it underpins one of our strategies. So in 5 months, we've made a discovery right next to a mill, and I'll keep repeating that, right next to a mill, and that will add materially to the inventory. And with gold, let's talk about in Aussie dollars at $5,000 an ounce, and it being shallow and having grade, there's probably not a better time to discover that. If we go back again I'll keep going back to that strategy. There were 3 prongs to that. One, can we grow the high-grade resource that was already in there? And we've already demonstrated that with intersections outside of resources for high-grade copper, 7 metres at 4.6% copper as an example. Number 2 was to make a discovery. We're now demonstrating that with Golden Eye. And number 3 was an eye on regional consolidation. We are the only base metal mill, but also a mill that can take gold, especially the type of gold in this area, for 250 kilometres. And that's a fairly wide search space. The mill, under the study that was previously completed, only used up half the capacity. So we have latent capacity there available. There are multi-million ounce gold resources in our space. There are very large copper resources in our space, which are sitting in TSX entities, not necessarily ASX entities. That opens up a whole lot of opportunity within the Chibougamau area. And if you want to think of an analogy, think of Mount Magnet that Ramelius Resources have, where Mount Magnet 10 years ago was thought, well, it might have been mined out. Well, 10 years later, it's still here, and millions of ounces of production to go. I see a lot of analogies to what we've got in Chibougamau.